Good morning everybody, happy Saturday the 14th of October, the day of the solar eclipse. In this video I'd like to go over a few points. I've got approximately 5 that I'd like to discuss or put my thoughts across about in relation to the crypto market. Before I start, I'm not a financial advisor, not a crypto advisor, I'm just a noob. Point number 1. So I'd stated in a previous video there that I strongly believed there would be a black swan starting on Monday the 16th of October. Well, we have had a black swan. It didn't start on Monday the 16th of October. It pretty much started on Monday the 9th of October. Or was it the Saturday the 7th? Anyhow, it was in this region. Please bear in mind, I'm not trying to upset anybody or be personal or anything like that. I'm aware that we have a person who actually lives in this area within my group, and I am aware that there are a few people that are either Islamic or even Jewish in this group. I'm not trying to offend anybody, I'm just trying to show you about the broken compass, north, east, west, south, news, and I'm trying to show you about how things are ritualized as well on the global stage. So I was kind of adamant that we would have a black swan, and I was adamant that it would start from the 16th of October, and it started a week earlier. How can I... And I was basing it on the fact that it was going to, something globally was going to happen at the end of the Jewish New Year. The Jewish New Year is definitely finished. It finished, I think it was on the 27th of September, I believe. Don't quote me. And here we have a global event that is also a black swan. How can I predict this? How can I do this? And I'm not even good at gematria. I don't even understand the Zionist rituals that they do. How can I predict that? It's almost impossible. And I predicted it to within a week. What is going on? We can see that it was a black swan as well by the pullback from the market. So you can see here that the market was about $1.1 trillion, and at the low it lost about $55 billion was taken out of the market. You can see the volume yesterday was really high, and here as well the volume was really high, big sell-off. So we've I think that you could call that a black swan if you look at the grand scheme of things. It's just a little dent, really. It's this dent here. It's just a tiny little dent. It's nothing really to look at. But I think that last week was the black swan. The market definitely reacted based upon the black swan. Now today is a solar eclipse, and you can see that already there's quite a lot of green coming back into the market. Alright, they're not massive numbers, but the US hasn't woken up yet, and the US is the center of the crypto market. It's also the world's biggest economy. Something like, is it 320 trillion a year? Don't quote me. Anyway, the US is the biggest economy of the world, and the crypto market revolves around the American time zones. If we have a little look at some charts, this is XRP. You can see that there's 2 green candles there, and the move started yesterday on Friday the 13th of October. This chart here is H-bar. This move from here to here was about 6%. Flare had some really interesting news yesterday. I'll just pull that up on screen. Flare are going to have immediately burnt 200 million Flare, and every month they're going to burn 66 million. 66, isn't that a strange number? 666. Anyway, they're going to burn 66 million tokens every month until January 2026. You can see they're going to burn 2% of the entire supply. I think that they may actually increase it. Flare is on the charts is doing terribly. Absolutely terribly. In all honesty, that token is doing my noodling in terms of price action. I'm quite excited for what it's going to do in terms of the utility that it's going to provide, but the price of this token, oh my word, really annoying. Just have to hold. I think they're going to have to burn more than 66 million tokens a month and 200 million immediately. However, this news dropped yesterday, and you can see that was the candle yesterday. It was about a 10% move, which is quite big. Even though it's, fractions of a penny, it was about a 10% move. So, if you ask me, the market is starting to turn around and point to the bullish side. And isn't that odd that it started doing that from Friday the 13th? And particularly, I'm interested to see what happens today now that the stock market's closed. And I'm interested to see what will happen today on the day of the solar eclipse. I think the best place to see the eclipse is actually in the States. So let's wait and see until the Americans wake up, and let's see what the market does. If it pumps, say we get a 10% move across the board, isn't it just odd how it happens like that? Now, the final point I'd like to make, I have a bone to pick with the XRP and general crypto content creators and influencers on x.com and YouTube that I follow. I think that their news is so blinkered and short-sighted. It appears to me that, and I watch way too much YouTube. I probably watch enough that you could consider it unhealthy. And then I try and cherry pick pertinent pieces of information and relay them. But what I do notice when I watch these YouTubers is that none of them can pronounce words. Therefore, they definitely aren't reading or writing their scripts. They're definitely not writing their scripts. They haven't got time to write their scripts because they're going to work in between. Some of these guys are working full-time jobs. Some of them are working full-time as YouTube content creators. Even the guys that are working as full-time content creators are not writing their own scripts. How on earth you can confuse the word Stein grabber for a Stein graber is beyond me. I'd ask myself, what is a Stein graber? Well, it's nothing. What's a Stein? It's a German beer mug of 2 pints or a litre. Well, then it can't be a graber. There's no such thing. It's a grabber, a Stein grabber. It's really basic. Come on, guys. So anyway, that's just sort of like one. I know that's almost irrelevant, but these guys aren't writing their own scripts. Somebody's writing their scripts. Then if you look at the demographic of content creators, they cover every demographic. It's very clever. I think that it's orchestrated. I think that Ripple, I think they all directly or indirectly, whether they know it or not, they're actually working for Ripple. Sometimes they get some absolutely monumental pieces of news that just happened that day that have only been published on 1 or 2 websites. How on earth did they get to know? How did they know where to find that information? It's so bizarre that, and then sometimes there's only one YouTube content creator who gets that piece of news. It's not necessarily all of them, but they drop this bombshell news. It's really bizarre how that just happens, how they just so happen to stumble across this when they're either working a full-time job or they haven't got time to write their own scripts because they can't read them. And then they put the information out. The information's been given to them. I think that directly or indirectly the information's been given to them by Ripple, in all honesty. I don't think Ripple is also a company. Rosie Rios, who is the treasurer, who was the US treasurer, who signed something like 300 trillion or $3 trillion, 300 trillion or 3 trillion worth of US dollars on the notes. And she's gone to work for Ripple. Ripple are a American government agency. The technology that they have they're a quasi-government agency. Crypto Help can explain it really well. But it's so clear that they're a quasi-government agency. They are very well organised. The Ripple versus SEC lawsuit, absolute nonsense, designed to get Ripple clarity. Ripple themselves haven't sold any XRP for about 10 years, and again, Crypto Hulk goes over this. A company called XRP2 that was created after the FinCEN lawsuit outcome has been selling XRP, not Ripple. None of the Ripple YT or X.com influencers, content creators have mentioned this. They're not talking about this. They're not going over it. The lawsuit is fake. John Deaton comes out of nowhere. And Jeremy Hogan comes out of nowhere. They provide this fantastic information. They dangle the carrot. They're often wrong in their predictions. And what they say is going to happen never does. And then more so, if you look at the collective of influencers and content creators, they appear to basically cover and tick all of the boxes. You have Canadians, Americans, Englishmen, Australians, South Africans, etc. They are regionalised and they cover the general demographic. So there are many, many more American content creators because there are many, many more Americans invested into Ripple XRP, the XRP token. If you look at South Africans, it's a far smaller country with a smaller economy, therefore there's less South African content creators, and the same for Australia and the same for UK. And you know, the Dutch, they're very, very big into technology. They were always big into BitTorrent and whatnot, and they've got massive data centers and etc, etc. They're quite a small nation in the grand scheme of things, but technologically advanced. So there's quite a few more Dutch content creators than there are UK, and their demographic, they're aiming at young, 20 to 30 something males. That's the demographic they're targeting. Whereas the Americans, they're covering all demographics. They're covering older females because they've got a guy on there, XRP 007, who might appeal to older females, and the way that he delivers the content is targeted at the demographic. And then you've got an old Georgian male who's definitely targeted at Southerners in the US, and then you've got a guy, I think, is he from Chicago, who's targeting the Middle Ages in the north of America. And then, you know, you've got the young African American guys who are targeting their demographics, and so on and so forth. And it does my noodle in. But anyway, to go back on point a little bit, I ranted there. They manipulate us, guys, and the content that they provide is so blinkered. The Bitcoin spot ETF, for instance, the news on this, why weren't they talking about it in the week? Why weren't they letting you know that the SEC had until yesterday to appeal the Bitcoin spot ETF? And why weren't they updating you whether they knew or not if the SEC had appealed it? Well, it's because they don't want you to plan. They need you. All of the crypto companies, whoever's paying them, they need you to be reactive based upon the news, based upon the day. They don't want you planning what you're going to do. They need you reactive because it keeps you emotional, which makes you press that buy and sell button. That's pretty much what I think that their main intention is by providing news that's blinkered and like a carrot on a stick. So what do I think is going to happen throughout the rest of the month? So on the 28th of October we've got a full moon, and it's a blood moon. It's a lunar eclipse. I think that my previous prediction, I stated that the market is going to run up until perhaps this weekend. That was also wrong. So I was saying that this week here from the 16th would be a black swan. I was wrong. This was the week of the black swan. The solar eclipse, I think it's going to note the start of the big green candles that I'm expecting to see, or mini green candles that I'm expecting to see. I think over the course of the next week or two we're going to be fed loads of information about the Bitcoin spot ETFs from Grayscale and is it BlackRock, and there are a couple of other Bitcoin spot ETFs as well. We're going to be drip fed this news. This date here is the date of the lunar eclipse. It will be ritualized. There will be some kind of bad news. It will make the market tank. It might be surrounding the Bitcoin spot ETFs, because if once Bitcoin sells off, and this is not financial advice, not crypto advisor, I'm just a noob. When Bitcoin sells, especially when it has high dominance like it does right now, nearly 50% dominance, when Bitcoin sells, the whole market, it drags the whole market down with it. So yeah, I believe that now news is going to be drip fed, it's going to be bullish, it's going to manipulate people, it's going to make people buy in. Then around this date here somewhere, and bear in mind that Sundays and Mondays are also very bearish normally, especially surrounding a lunar eclipse. I mean, it might start, Alice, be quiet, it might start selling out a few days before, but just be aware of this date. Some point around here, I think the market's going to top out, and then it's going to be a really sharp, steep cliff. So they're going to get everybody in, they're going to rile everybody up with all of this news nonsense, and then the rug is going to get pulled. Be prepared. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day.